give the people the authority to manage their government institutions in any way they feel proper that makes them happy. This may be news to some of our government officials, as I'm discovering, in that their behavior and communications that I've had with some of them indicate to me that, again, that they think that they are not civil servants in the great free Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in the city, county of Philadelphia, under the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, United States of America, but that they are commissars in the People's Republic of Philadelphia. But such is not the case. And so we have our community guests to talk about the impacts of community on our community, of social media, in terms of modifying behavior. Vincente?
Hello everyone, I go by the name of Vince Clemens, also the stage name ARSIN. I'm a hip hop artist from the Mantua area, West Philadelphia. I've been working in the community for about 10 years. Professionally, as a public health professional, I started my career at Children's Hospital. I currently work at a program called Access Matters, which is funded by the city of Philadelphia. Outside of that, I started a nonprofit organization for youth. It's called DB4, in partnership with a couple partners, one of the partners being Drexel University. One of the roles we play with working with youth in the community is we work with at-risk youth. We try to provide life skills, mentorship for a lot of the youth in the community. Violence is pretty prevalent in our community, so that's one of the things that we focus on. In doing that and developing that program, we wanted to partner with organizations in the community to get funding, but also to act as a liaison between the community and those institutions and advocate for the community as far as what we want and ensure that it's being implemented. Some of the things we've done with the kids is we had free summer programs, and in those summer programs we focus on nutrition, dieting, physical activities, and like I said, life skills. Some of those life skills surround things like conflict resolution, self-esteem, character building. We also focus on health. STD and HIV education is extremely important. It affects our youth, it affects everyone, and we promote prevention as well as risk reduction in our community. We try to educate people on the importance of using condoms. So in doing that, we have created a network of young individuals, youth from young as 12 and young adults from as old as 30. And we've created a community advisory board in doing that. In that community advisory board, we come together, we do different events in the community quarterly, and those events are surrounding the things that affect the communities, like the issues I stated. Outside of that, we use music therapy. Extinguish Entertainment is a company that I own in partnership with my partner, Tyree Long. And myself as an artist, I go out and I use music as a tool to get that message across, specifically to the youth. Nowadays in our culture, specifically the hip hop culture, is used worldwide, universal. Media, you see it to sell products, but that represents to me that our culture and our voice has power, and we need to embrace that power and use it to get to our own people. So in doing that, I created a song called For the Camera, and For the Camera was basically about everything that's going on with social media. There's some pros to social media. For example, right now with the missing girls in DC, I wouldn't have known about it if it wasn't for social media. Social media is where a lot of people get their news from now, information, true or false. And the other side of the song that I wanted to focus on is how mass media affects our perception, manipulates our perception. Sometimes information cannot even be correct, it cannot be accurate at all, but depending on the ratings or depending on the agenda and the partners that these media platforms have, they show you what they want to show you, and they don't show you what they don't want to show you. So the song For the Camera, in the sense of the content, it talks about that. It talks about how people become so vain because of social media on the social level, and on a psychological level, the instant gratification. Everybody wants to compare their lifestyles and live above their means on a social platform, but in real life, we're not addressing those issues. Some of the things that's going on in the world, a lot of people will hop online in a second and say hashtag this, hashtag find our girls, hashtag Trayvon Martin, hashtag whatever, but they don't actually take the efforts to do it. And when they do take the efforts to do it, they're not out there focusing on the actual issues. They're out there recording themselves and just adding to the idea of actually addressing these issues. One thing about me as an artist, I really truly believe in the essence of hip hop, and the essence of hip hop, in my opinion, is one of the main things is to advocate for the community and express yourself. So I use music to do that, and a lot of the youth and a lot of the kids attract to that. And that's one powerful tool that we use. So for everyone listening, if you can check out the music video, it's on YouTube. It's called For the Camera. You can type in my name, ARSIN, For the Camera. You can see it in more detail. The reason we did a video to it is because words can only explain so much, and it also meets with the concept. We had CBS come out. You'll see them in the video. We had Fox News come out. Yuki Washington is a part of the project, because the concept was not just about social media, it was about media overall. So I wanted all of these news networks to capture it. We shot the video in North Philadelphia at an anti-violence basketball game. We had 200 youth come out. We brought a casket out. And the reason we brought the casket out is to symbolize all the deaths that's been happening with our youth, to bring it home. So in doing that march, we pushed the casket through the streets so people can see real life, you know, some of the trauma that's affecting these kids and affecting these families.
5:30, those of you just tuning in, this is 88.1 FM WPEB Philadelphia, and also simulcast on 95.1 W236CL Philadelphia. You're listening to the Community Rebirth Organization Plan Neighborhood News Forum. I'm your host, Jasper Jones, and that was Vincente introducing his work to you. And now what we want to do is ask him what effect that have, and when they did that presentation in North Philly. We have a caller, so let's check and see what this is about.
Definitely.
Afternoon, you reached 88.1 FM WPEB Philadelphia. Do you want to go on the air? Hello? You hung up.
So you wanted to know the effect that it has. One thing I can tell you, for me being a young African-American male, action is everything to you, you know, especially when you're doing music. Action is everything. I mean, what you say is one thing, but action is everything. So for me to take the time to go to 10th and Cumberland, which is, you know, is a rough area. You know, I went down there with the team. We talked to the people in the community first, because for me it was bigger than the music video. We wanted to get footage of people's stories. And one of the consensus is that trauma affects the community. Like, it affects the whole community. You know, seeing your friends that you grew up with get killed in the streets affects them. Also, not having the resources they need, the jobs, and everything that surrounds leading up to that affects them. So one of the effects that it had by doing that, once we were done, we had a lot of people say, you know, thank you and show us gratitude for the opportunity for their voices to be heard. They said, we don't see the news come down here at all. The only time the news came down there that year is when they came for the event that I did. And I asked one of the reporters, I said, what made y'all come out? And they said, well, it seemed like you were doing something positive and you seemed like you had some legitimate partners, being as though Drexel University program, Healing Hurt People, came down. And that program, Healing Hurt People, is a program where they have social workers in different hospitals across the city. So when somebody's shot and they go to the hospital, usually they sew you up and they send you about your way. But in this program, they focus on dealing with the psychological effects of the trauma, because we all know that physically the gunshot's going to heal. But the stuff, the residual things that you think about that lead to more violence, they don't. So that's one of the things that the program does, and that's why I invited them. Because one thing I didn't want to do was to come down into the hood or to the community, do a video shoot and just leave and just bounce. I wanted to provide them with resources so when we do leave, it has that effect. And that was one of the effects, was giving them resources, places to go, to find jobs, to deal with the trauma, to counseling. So in doing the music that I do, that's one of my main focuses, not just to talk about it, to be about it. And I feel like for me as an artist, one of the main purposes to leave something for somebody else to grow, to leave something to inspire somebody else. So that's one of the effects that event specifically had. But it's a movement, because in doing that event, some of the partners, the guy Terry, that's a part of Express Yourself, the Urban Crisis Center, Response Center, he wants to do an ongoing tournament game and have the youth come and that song be performed. And Fox News and CBS also wants to be a part of that process as well. So that was some of the effects that it had. So that's an ongoing process.
Yeah, that's actually one of my neighborhoods that you're in, actually, there.
Which one?
8th and Diamond is a polling place that I work a lot.
Oh, 8th and Diamond, yeah.
Yeah, that neighborhood is where my family originated at, from Poplar Street on up to Lehigh, from Broad Street to Front is where we have been for hundreds of years, actually.
Yeah, so definitely, a lot of people took what we've done and they used their words. Because one of the main things I promote is words is power. So we use hip hop, we use poetry, we use rap to express ourselves, and a lot of kids in the program done that in return. They'll write down their feelings, they'll perform them. I had people who was beefing, people who was killing each other on different blocks, come together for one song or come together for a video to express it in words. That's saving somebody's life. That's stopping somebody's mind from being in pain, because the trauma doesn't stop. Between that trauma, not having the resources to get a job, not having education, all the stuff going on with the STDs, and the stuff that's going on with the cops and in the world, it's just hard for people. It's hard for us. So that's why we do what we do, That's why we focus on specifically young people.
You just stated the reason that structural reform of the schools needs to be done actually 20 years ago from what they are now, the Family Job Life Instruction Centers, so that people can come in and get technology training for the whole family and get access to employment opportunities, learn financial literacy, health literacy, technology literacy by doing it, and basic skill literacy. Because one of the stunning things that we have found is that Philadelphia, as I said to you before we came on camera, Philadelphia is supplying 40% of the people incarcerated in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but it's about 15% of the population.
15%?
About 40% of the people that are in jail in Pennsylvania come to Philadelphia, and about 15% of the population is what Philadelphia is in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
So that's an issue. Hello, you just reached WPEB. Do you want to go on the air? Well, the caller has requested that we give some more information on what's going on in the Mantua area.
Okay, no problem.
So why don't you do that, Vicente? You have some problems with the phone. I'm going to try one more time, see if this works.
Well, I can address that question or that.
Okay, and what was your name, caller? Sheila Parker is asking that question. So we're going to, instead of trying to hook this up, we're going to just go ahead on.
Yeah, I can answer that question. As far as what's going on in the Mantua area, West Philadelphia, like I said, outside of music, I do a lot of work and I give back in the community and I work with a lot of youth. One of the things that's going on now, we at the stage where a couple years ago, it was proposed to the city to request funding to make some changes in the community. One of the changes as far as development was education and housing development for low-income individuals. So we're at a stage now where that's supposed to be being implemented, but one of the concerns that I have as far as people being moved out of the community is education, specifically around home ownership. So the Mantua Civic Association is focusing on developing a home ownership training for the residents in the community so they can become educated on how to do the small things, like build their credit to be able to afford homes, because the consensus is if you don't own in the community and someone comes out and there's gentrification happening and somebody does a situation where the artist Dupree went through, where they tried to take his property If you don't own anything, then they can move you out the community. So that's something that's going on in the Mantua area. Is just educating the people on home ownership, property ownership, and having some type of stake, even small businesses in the community. So business development, small business development, educating people on how to buy houses, that's something that's priority, because we can talk all day about the other issues, but if I move you out, then the other issues don't matter. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that we're focusing on, trying to push, for people, because like you said, 39% of the people in the last couple of years, African Americans and colored, been moved out. So that's one of the main issues. You know, so that's what's going on in Mantua right now. And for me, in my organization, we're not really too deep into the political side, so we don't answer to nobody. So I have no problem telling whoever, and they know this, I have no problem telling Drexel, I have no problem telling none of the people we work with, that when it comes to me, I'm advocating for the neighborhood first. So it ain't no dollar amount for me. You know, sometimes, you know, they say you burn bridges, but for me, I'm an advocate for the community because that's where I'm from. So I'm not burning no bridges. I've stood up to them before. I've checked situations I need to check, and I'll continue to do it. But let me tell you something, they may not like it, but they respect it. And that's all that matters. And that's how things get done.
I'm very familiar with the situation in that area, and then I'm co-chair along with Jimmy Allen of the Community Research Group.
Yeah.
And we've been negotiating with the city to restructure the Promise Zone activities so that they move from being a piggy bank for the big white institutions, if I'm going to be blunt, to providing access to financial and other resources to the people at risk in that area.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a conundrum for the city people in the management positions, that they seem to don't be getting what we're talking about. The institutions, Drexel, Penn, City of Philadelphia, they're all major federal contractors. And John F. Kennedy put a requirement on federal contractors that they make real meritorious efforts to have their workforce look like the ethnic composition of the community that they're sited in. Such is not the case for Penn, Drexel, and the City of Philadelphia in reality with regard to their workforce. And so we have been pushing them in the Promise Zone Research Committee to take steps that will address that real issue. And that is a real issue. That is a real issue that we are up against, that the Drexel, Penn, and the City of Philadelphia do not have the ethnic composition of their workforce matching the ethnic composition of the community that they're sited in.